Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. That's another week. How's it going?
Awesome. I just remembered what I forgot about the Ireland trip.
What did you forget about the Ireland trip?
Always assume that if you're my complexion, that if you don't deal with sun management, more important than anything else, you'll get sunburnt. So you'll see that even in the very gray Ireland, you'll see me with a very long-brimmed hat and long-sleeve shirts, which we learned from Janelle in Arizona. Always deal with sun management more than anything else.
Even though you look like the locals.
Yeah. Even the locals notice always wear long-sleeve shirts there because they know that you'll get sunburnt. Because it's like this misty gray sun, gray mist, gray sun mist. You get torched.
Okay. Well, kid number one is off for 3 weeks with grandparents in Israel. So the house is going to be quiet.
And kid number two is leaving at the end of the week.
And then to kind of balance it, we're importing your mom and your sister's daughter.
Yes, my niece.
Your niece, yes.
Which reminds me of a joke. I asked my brother once, how would he call our twins? He said, well, the daughter, I'll call Denise. And I said, how do you call the son? He says, the nephew. That is the essence of that jokes. That is Anise, sweetie.
There's no way your brother told that story.
No, it's of course not.
That's what makes me laugh about it, because there's no way your brother would have told this joke.
No.
He doesn't think in English.
He doesn't think in English. No. That's a joke about people that don't speak English.
Yeah.
But this is a very good case of us doing self-inflicted injuries, because we had the opportunity to have the easiest child ever. Basically, we could have had the house alone. Leah is a non-intrusive, not annoying.
She goes to work in the morning. She works as a camp counselor. Then she has SAT classes in the afternoon, driving lessons, and she's just away.
Exactly.
And takes care of herself.
Yes. And we chose to bring in the most annoying child of all, my mom. Attila the mom.
Well,
yes.
She invited herself.
She always does. But we're going to have fun.
Yeah, we have 10 days with your mom.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're going to have fun.
Awesome.
As we said before, life is a choice. Fun is a choice. And suffering is a choice. And now, when we discuss self-inflicted injuries,
yep.
Here's where we're going to talk a little bit about the Chevron ruling and the fishermen in where they were in the EPA.
So we have a little bit of recent stuff to talk about this time. For a change. After talking about ourselves. So for those of you who haven't been following the news, Supreme Court in the U.S. Has ruled against a very long-standing, that's the word, ruling, the Chevron ruling, which was basically set the precedent that regulatory bodies, basically federal and local agencies, cannot be challenged when they come up with the regulation, or can rarely be challenged. And they are the authority to make decisions about regulation on the specific areas of expertise. The assumption was they are the experts. People at the FDA are the experts about food and drugs and healthcare. People at the EPA are the experts about environmental issues, and TSA about flying and stuff. So they can make rules, and that should not be challenged in court and court doesn't have the power or the
courts don't have standing.
expertise.
The courting doesn't have standing.
Because of lack of expertise
Yep.
in the field.
Yep.
And that was the most quoted ever Supreme Court ruling in thousands of all levels of legal challenges. And now it's broken. Basically, It was overruled a week ago. And there is a lot of discussion if this is a good thing, if this is a bad thing, how it's going to apply to life. So we have some opinions and thoughts.
Oh, surprise, I have an opinion. You'll be really surprised. Producer Dave, are you surprised that I have an opinion about something?
Shocker.
Yes.
Shocker of the day so far.
So
Yes.
we actually really liked also the Bill Maher episode about
The topic.
because kind
he-
of like
because
regulation, deep state.
Because he said all the deep state that Trump talks about is BS.
there's
But
no deep state.
There's just a
There are
whole bunch
of
useless-
bureaucrats.
A bunch of useless bureaucrats that get in the way of getting shit done. So in general, we have turned from a nation of doers to a nation of rule followers and fill out form 36D type -4 and things like that.
TPS reporting.
TPS reports. Exactly. And don't forget the cover sheets. And the thing is that it becomes so stupid. Right now, if you're a big government contractor that needs to hire, there's a million rules. How can you hire in California? And how many people you need to interview? And how does the panel look like? And what are the rules? It means that if you're a smaller company, now you're not burdened with that shit and you can move faster. Bill Maher was talking about the fact that it took him 18 years of just regulations to build a wind farm in Wyoming, which baffles me because it means that
We've seen in Ireland wind farms. Actually, our tour guide,
Yeah.
she and her husband used to own a company there.
builds.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. Getting in,
and they get shit done.
yes,
And we don't.
and we don't. The getting in your way, having 24 million bureaucrats working for the government means that they need to justify their existence.
Of course. So they
So
need
the-
to create
The Chevron,
paperwork.
The Chevron versus the EPA was in the 70s. The government was a fraction of the size of it today. Right now, you need 16 different approvals to get a porch done in Newton. And so first, there's the rules that basically prohibit you from doing stuff. The other thing is because you have all these rules in place, it allows, and now this is where it relates to security. It allows people that comply with the various rules to get breached day and night, but say, no, we're following the rules. The regulator told us that we need to protect ourselves, that our on-prem AD needs to be protected. The fact that we are running Cloud Okta and there's no on-prem AD ever in existence anymore, but we're safe because we have put our Windows 2012 under protection, but there's no Windows 2012 because the regulators are so behind and are so out of date and are so geared to keeping their jobs versus actually regulating that anything, at least from my experience in the security space, with the exception of some of the FedRAMP stuff that comes from people that actually know what they're doing, has been a way to either CYA, get money out of you by charging you, as Bill Maher said, charging you more money because you have too big of a mailbox. Things like that. They charge you money to guarantee their existence, but they don't give you the service that they were there to do. And that's true for most of the security-related regulators. And the financial bodies are trying to do this, and the fact that you have a body that has absolute power has never worked out well in human existence. You need to have somebody that is able to challenge them, and I think this is what the Supreme Court is saying, is that we're not going to do this every night and day, but the regulators know that somebody's regulating them?
I think it's extremely important to have a way for the little citizen, the small company, the large company in our economy to come and challenge the regulator and ask, is this regulation really needed? Is it really protecting what it's supposed to protect? Our kind of blind assumptions that the scientists, the experts know something is fine. They are experts in their field. They can recommend. It's okay for the little guy to come and challenge and say, no, it's doing the opposite. It ruins my life. It ruins my livelihood. It doesn't give me a chance to compete freely in the market. And then you need to have a judge that will listen to the expert, that will tell why this is important, why certain regulation prevents a drug that is unsafe from getting into the hands of people, why, we want clean water and we don't want this organization to be able to put waste materials into our wetlands. But I don't think there is this problem with limiting the amount of control that the regulator has over our day-to-day life. I do want to be able to challenge them. I do want to be able to have them go and change and think about the bigger impacts of their regulation. Take COVID, for example. You say everyone needs to be masked, and then 2-year-old kids in daycare have a problem of, empathy and not recognize. Like, somebody needs to be able to come and say, okay, experts, your idea is fine in this specific area of your expertise about a virus and COVID, but let's bring other experts from child psychology and from education and from I don't know what, and let's weigh the impact of your regulation.
I think you went all the way to the extreme.
No, let me give another example
Let me give you the example of how this was overruled and how is this relevant to our business on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I'll give another example in a second.
So in the case of why this was overruled is because fishermen were required to carry and pay people to navigate some places, I think in New York Sounds or something like that. And they said, fuck that. I have a Garmin. I have a whole bunch of navigation
Yeah, that was regulation from early 80s.
Or 70s. And this is the...
For increasing safety.
Exactly. So first, it's patronizing the individual, which is something I don't believe in general. I think if there's things that you, as a business owner, are allowed to take business risks, you might not have the insurance company might choose to take steps against you, but patronizing people who do something for a living as a government is always a bad practice. And second, a regulation needs to be continuously updated. If a regulation needs to stay up to date or up to code, if somebody has a building code that is not related to the materials that are used in the building, if they have security regulations that have nothing to do with existing technologies and deployments, if people are trying to do car safety for self-driving cars and put them the same way that they're doing with humans, this is just irrelevant,
and regulation is not up to date, never up to date,
and it never gets updated because the regulator have no incentive of taking out a regulation because it reduces their budget and source of income. If I'm no longer needed to regulate something, then I'm no longer needed. So I'm basically extincting my own job.
Of course, the one person that needs to join the fishing trip every day, that's his income.
That's their income. Same goes for the tree people in Newton. If you decide that you don't need the tree people or the wetland people or other things, you basically, if they say, you know what, things have been rebuilt enough to a good state, then they sign themselves out of a job. And this is very relevant in our industry all the time. But I'll give the example of how New Englanders are suffering from a regulation that went wild. As you know, I think producer Dave probably remembers as much as I do about this. Nixon, I think, put in the marine mammal safety rules in the 70s that basically outlawed hunting the seals or whatever. And right now you can't swim in the Cape because there's so many seals, because the seals were about to be extinct. If you remember, everybody was talking about the people killing the baby seals, blah, 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 blah. And
now we have so many seals and we have so many sharks, and you cannot swim in the Cape.
In the Cape.
So I don't know if we want to hunt seals, but we need some sort of...
Somebody in the regulation took out something. People monitor that you can't do this. People are protecting something. It's like nobody's dealing with the balance.
There is always a bigger story, and you always, as a human being, just looking at a very, very narrow view.
Yeah.
And you cannot predict, in a chaotic world, what will be the bigger impact over time. And that's why you do need to have people have standing and go and say, this doesn't make sense anymore, and there is this harm that is being caused.
Yep.
I want to give another thought about...
So right now, the endangered species of 73 protected the seals, but forgot the swimmers.
I
think there were like...
kid was beaten this week.
There was 5 attacks on the Cape this week.
And that's the livelihood of all the tourism over there. You know, that's money for people if people cannot swim during summertime.
Yeah, but you need to feed the great whites. The thing that they really like is white dude on a pedal board, because it's like chip on a wafer or something like that for them.
That's why we don't take a pedal boat to the Cape.
Nope.
We don't want to be cheap food.
Yes.
For the sharks. I do have a thought about how this bureaucracy is also really bad for security. And I have an example, a terrible example from this week that I experienced firsthand. Basically, all this regulation leads to tons of paperwork, tons of data that is being collected.
Oh, yes.
And always mismanaged by definition, because it's a variety of agencies that cannot
talk to each other.
And they don't know anything. Like, think about the amount of paperwork you're filling up. That's the shock we always had. Coming to to anything, to go to the doctor. Like, coming to the U.S., and I think we mentioned it several times, from daycare to a random afternoon activity, a random, day camp that a kid will go on MLK Day that you need to go to work and you need to sign them up. Like, you fill up paperwork with information about your healthcare, social security, your address, your stuff, upload your insurance card, upload whatever, picture of your kids, your birth certificate, who knows what, and your account information, and a copy of void checks, and whatever. This week I was shocked, still with the Newton Conservation, trying to get our patio built. I went to get some consultation, and the lady was extremely helpful. She wanted to help me fill up the 10 documents I need to fill to just, build a 10 by 10 extension to my porch. That is like
Can
100...
ChatGPT do this? Can ChatGPT build this?
Build a porch?
No, fill out the forms.
I hope so. But, so to be helpful, I can feed this to ChatGPT. Hold on. She opened up a bunch of former people's submissions, applications. Actually, I recognize good friends of ours that live in our town and built a pool in our town. And the full application is out there for everybody to go check, including the place, the dimensions, the materials they're using, and the checks including the bank account and the name and the signature and everything scanned out there, available, not even password protected, not even nothing. Like the minute I have access to the portal with a password that I make up, I can see that that's crazy shit.
Yep.
And that's everywhere. And that's like basic PII regulation that is like the bank invests so much in trying to protect your bank information. And the dude, you don't even know that the check that you submitted to the town is scanned into your application. This is a big WTF.
Yep.
I was shocked that, like, she showed it to me being helpful. And I was like, oh, ma'am, you're showing me my friend's bank account information. This is unbelievable. So
you forgot the track coach. Remember that had
what's
his car.
the track coach?
One of the track coaches. We got an email about loss of PII. If you remember, that they got all the health statement of all the kids on the team. His car got broken into, and somebody stole all the stuff that basically contains all. It's all the HIPAA regulated information.
Yeah, the HIPAA yeah, it's great to have HIPAA regulated information, but basically
it's on forms. It's on paper forms that exist in every coach's car and every coach's locker that's protected by nothing. So this is
like it's we've been thought everybody thinks we protect data. Well, you give your data to all those regulatory bodies that have zero understanding and zero ability to protect it, and that's a problem.
Yes, because nobody regulates them.
It's beautiful. If I would have been China and I would want to plan an invasion to the US, I would just go scrape the internet for all the buildings, all the material is there, put it into AI models.
They don't need that. You know why?
They'll walk.
No, they have all the text messages from everybody in AT&T. In case you missed that one, they
also have all the emails of Microsoft.
Yes, they have all.
That's the Russians. Maybe
they have all of
not
Microsoft emails and all of the AT&T's text messages. It's insane. The fact that all of the text messages.
Yeah.
For those of you that are Mac users and think that iMessage helps you, no, it doesn't.
Nothing helps.
No, there is. How do we text each other?
WhatsApp.
Exactly.
I mean,
let's trust Zuckerberg. What's the worst that can happen?
If your machine is compromised, they'll read your.
No.
If you have Pegasus on your machine, they'll read WhatsApp.
Yes. Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, I just want to bring to the knowledge of everyone that this is a monster. Like the bureaucracy, the amount of paperwork that is around us is not just slowing us down, it's compromising us on a daily basis.
It's compromising our safety.
Yeah.
It's compromising our security.
Yeah.
It hinders our ability to conduct business in a timely and effective motion. It is anti-competitive. Sometimes it protects. It basically gates out innovators in the market.
It may protect a specific lobby group,
yes.
Interest group that was lobbying for regulation.
Yep.
That's very common.
Yep. And sometimes it turns on itself, very much like the
sharks.
The sharks.
Seals.
So think about it. You need to think of less is more, and think of what are the things that are valuable. Now, think of where I'm really concerned about regulation is think of all the useless regulations. If you remember that we were talking about AI, NML, and non-biased algorithms and things like that. All the regulations that are sprouting from this by non-proficient people. The assumption that the regulator will be proficient.
Like the big presidential kind of a suggestion that came out a few months ago of regulating AI. That was nuts.
Yes.
Nuts.
But after we've sat here and beated to death the regulators, let's give at least a little bit of kudos to some of the regulators.
I want to say something because I just read this as well. I mean, there is a big concern in the industry that very soon, because of the Chevron overruling, a lot of the recent cybersecurity guidelines will be overturned as well, or at least challenged in court, like SEC disclosure of a breach, things like CISA guidelines of what organizations need to do. And I think many of them have standing, and I don't want to see them overruled. But at the same time, I'm totally fine with having them withstand the day in court. I think people should protect, we should bring experts to say why they're valuable.
Actually, CISA,
what do you think about that?
So I wanted to give one example of things that the regulators saved the U.S.'s butt, but this has not happened since then. Thalidomide. There was a lady in the FDA that refused to approve thalidomide, and because of that, the U.S. did not have
the thalidomide babies.
Exactly, because some lady in the FDA basically continued pounding and refused to approve it through the legislation. So sometimes regulators say
it was an anti-nausea drug used in pregnancy, and then it was found out that it caused really terrible birth defects in babies.
Yes, it prevents the creation of blood vessels and therefore prevents the elongation of limbs. And one of the interesting things when you mentioned the CISA guidelines, notice that how did you call them? Guidelines, not regulations. Most of the time,
SEC do have now regulation.
The SEC just says you need to disclose, which is, they don't say how to disclose. They don't say what.
They have timeline, I think 48 hours or so.
Yeah, but they don't say, you need to say that it's a business impactful. This is how I actually like regulations to be. It's entrust your partner in business that they need to make the decision, is this business impactful? Is this something that's going to be bad? So this is where you trust the other side to do what they're supposed to. And when you talk about CISA guidelines, one of the things I love about this is it's guidelines. It tells you what are the things to expect. Like when they were talking about APT 22 guidelines of how to deal with this, they were saying, this is the attack. This is who we've seen being attacked. This is how we recommend you protect yourself if you think that you're a population that might be relevant to this. And this is really awesome because it now opens a dialogue of let's have a conversation. And this is where I think the court wants the regulators to go. Don't be parental. Don't tell us what to do. Tell us of the problem. Tell us what you think the outcome will be. Tell us how to protect ourselves. And also, I think with a lot of making some of the cover your ass and pay a bill regulations, washing them out, now you are just left with the regulations that are meaningful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you want to get rid of just red tape doesn't do anything to core regulation that actually has impact. The one that, really protects people, protects from creating damage.
Yes.
I think that is core. You need to have a set of core regulation that are protecting lives, that are protecting, the environment from real damage, not just the feel-good stuff, and that are adaptive, that, can be challenged and should be challenged over time to keep the regulator on their toes.
Yep.
And for me, their work is actually to always go and improve the regulation, not just go and make money out of 30-year-old regulation that is no longer relevant for them to collect money for my city. This is stupid.
Yep.
I want them to actually do good, not just be a mechanism of red tape.
Yep. And don't forget, Now we've learned that just regular cost to put a single toilet in San Francisco is $1.7 million. Awesome. For one toilet.
Yeah, that's a public toilets.
Public toilet. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's why there's so much poop on the street.
Absolutely. Nobody will put public toilets over there. It's too expensive.
Exactly.
That's the problem. We don't get shit done.
Exactly. Now that we've done with the toilet references,
You
I think
cannot get shit done.
exactly. I
Or
think
you literally
exactly.
get it done.
So, are we done for this week?
I think we're done. If you like it, write to us and write what you think about regulation, and is it helpful, and are you worried about Chevron being overruled? I hope to see you again in the next episode of the Didi and Lital Show. We have here a weekly podcast. If you like us, rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. Until the next time, goodbye. Bye,
Goodbye.
Didi.
Goodbye, Lital.